Please say the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so I'd like to welcome everybody here tonight for our regular August meeting. Last one before we start school already. So moving on to our agenda, need to amend and or accept tonight's agenda. I do have 3 things that have come up that we need to add to our agenda. The action item E would be the hiring of Kara Ellens, special ed parapro. And then action item F would be to hire Deb Allinga for a special ed parapro. And then on to action item G will be for the board resolution for general obligations to our bonds, right? For our bonds. All right. That is all I have. I don't know if anybody else has anything that you want to add.
Make a motion to accept the agenda as amended.
Support. All right, we have a motion and support for the agenda with the additions. Anything else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. At this time, it is time for public comment. Public comment is limited to 2 minutes per person. Seeing none, I think we'll have any tonight, so we'll move on to our routine matters, starting out with approval of our July minutes and our special meeting minutes of August 1. Hope everybody had a chance to look those over. Any corrections that need to be made? We have a motion to accept the minutes of both meetings.
Motion.
Support.
Motion support to approve the July minutes and our special meeting minutes of August 1. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We need to consider general fund invoices for payment. Matt?
Alright, I would like to make a motion to pay from the general fund, check 75797 through 75906 for $213,918.32. And from food services, check 75812 through 75885 for $38,862.48.
All right. We have a motion and support for our invoices. Any questions or comments?
I just found it interesting that we had to pay Island Township for election expenses. Did they actually really work that so much?
A lot of it's for reimbursement for postage, and working parts of it, I guess, getting the ballots, the absentee ballots and stuff like that, so.
Good.
We've paid, I think, every township now, thus far, so. Some of it was mileage reimbursement too, if I remember correctly. I don't remember exactly which township had those, but I saw those repeatedly, so.
Any more questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Reports and communications, myself, enjoyed this morning's breakfast with everybody that was the staff. Good to see everybody in the school again, and yeah, looks put on a nice meal. We had some entertainment involved with some
You didn't know we hired a comedian.
Some good dad jokes and.
Not only superintendent, but comedian.
No, but it was a good time this morning, it was good, so enjoyed that. And like I said, it's good to see staff back in the building, but that's all I got. Superintendent?
Yes, thank you. And I just noticed too, Kevin, when we looked at the reports and communications, principals were left off
That's fine.
of this agenda. So I think we took July's agenda and they just got misplaced, so I apologize for that. Yeah, this morning was great. It was great to see everyone again. I joke that summers, the tech deck and custodians get tired of me because I'm constantly popping in and bothering them to talk because there's no one else around. So, but it was good. It's always good to laugh and be with friends and colleagues. So, if you keep getting my head that big, Ken, I'm gonna take my show on the road. So. I've already offered Becky my manager position, so she respectfully declined. But no, it was very good. We've had a busy 4 weeks since our last meeting. Sinking Fund Committee had met. We'll touch base on that when we get down to committee reports. But we also had, update on our buses. We have 3 buses that we ordered. I believe we ordered those May 3rd. The election was May 2nd. Once it was passed, we ordered those buses. They keep pushing us back a month, so we're hoping to have them in September now. It's one of those things that's kind of out of our hands, but I think he's getting a little annoyed with me calling and emailing about when our buses are arriving, but that's okay. Scott's got our fleet ready to go for busing. We have buses to go, we just don't have the spare buses. So it'll be nice when those 3 get there. Also, one of the things I wanted to talk about too, we'll probably touch on it in the Sinking Fund Committee report, but we did hire a company to come in and do infrared scanning of our roof, trying to see what areas we have of wet insulation, what's wet underneath our roof line. That can be kind of a nerve-wracking thing, not knowing how much damage you actually have with your roof. But I'm real pleased to say that we have roughly 88,000 square feet of roof line, and we only have 381 square feet of wet insulation. So that scan looks really, really good. We also, to put it in perspective, our classrooms are about 900 square feet. So that's, with the amount of roof that we have, that's good. Still need to definitely do replacements and get on that rotation, but it is good news. Rekeying process is underway. It's going slow and steady, but we have over 200 doors that we need rekeyed, and we have one guy that's rekeying them. He's unable to find help with that. So we're doing the best that we can with that. Overall, it's been received pretty well of rekeying the building. I think everyone knows that was a big need for security. Any questions?
Okay, our business manager, Liz.
Hello. I think Scott emailed you all notes, but so Becky and I were busy in July finishing our at-risk report, and that's always interesting to try to get finished at that time. It's due July 15th, but we haven't had our audit, we haven't closed our books all the way, and so, but the state just, for some reason, has that one due early, I'm not sure why. And the title app, we have it ready to submit, but we aren't able to submit it yet. It has an issue to do with Muskegon ISD and the Title III monies that we get through them. So the state is trying to fix the issue with that right now. And let's see, the audit went very well. I wanted to thank the McBain and ISD staff. There's a lot of prep work that goes into that, and sometimes there's some last minute things depending on what they decide they're going to look at. And so everybody that we reached out to here at the school was very helpful in doing everything they needed. So sometimes you don't know until they get there exactly which federal programs they're going to look at. in detail. So that went very well. We did add back $292,418 to the fund balance, and so that was a positive. Let's see, state aid cash flow. We should be getting that money next week, and then we paid the one from last year off in July. And as far as the new school lunch program through the state, we have opted into that, and I have that, in my notes as well. But a portion of the reimbursement that we'll get, even though we're CEP, it means all the students can eat free. That doesn't necessarily mean that we're reimbursed for all of those meals at the free rate, which is the highest rate. So the state's program is going to step in and pay the difference on the reduced meals and the paid meals to get all the meals at the free rate. So, and that's, based on your percentage of poverty, free and reduced lunch, different things that go into that calculation. And then one of the requirements is that we pay off all the negative balances. And so we have a plan to do that out of the angel funds. And thankfully it's only $81.47, which is good. That was one of the requirements in order to opt into the program. So, yeah. So those things are rolling along, and Brandy's getting things ready in our office to start new contracts for the teachers and anybody else whose new contracts start as far as pay. And so we wind down with the audit, and then we wind up for the new school year. So.
Okay.
So the total unpaid lunch was only $80 amongst all our students. Well,
In the angel fund that Liz was talking about, is we have a donation of funds that pays for students that are unable to pay. So they were able to pay that up, yeah.
We did use that, I think, a couple times through the year, that Tammy used some funds out of there in certain situations, but not
So we
very
still have-
often, so it's
So
good.
is there money in there yet, or
Like,
in this fund that you referred to?
In the angel fund, yeah,
Oh.
there's still a balance there,
oh,
positive
yes,
balance,
yeah,
yes.
yeah, there's still
Yeah,
a
okay.
balance there, and they, even though meals are free, somebody could still end up with a negative balance due to a la carte or second meals, that kind of thing, but, yeah.
Did you want to touch on the preschool?
Sure. I don't know if you guys had any questions as you looked at that, but Scott and I went over this, and of course,
Is that different?
these first,
No, okay.
the 2 years that are referenced out here, the first 2 years of the program, we had grant money to kind of offset some of the costs of that, which is definitely, a positive to have those funds. But those funds, as far as I know, are done, and we're not going to have those anymore. But so, with the total revenue that is at the top, and then there's the expenditures. And so what I did is I subtracted out those stabilization grant monies so that you could see, what it would have looked like had we not had those funds. And at the end of this year, if we had not had those funds, we would have just been in the red by $329. So pretty much break even, except for, and Scott and I talked about this a little bit, this doesn't include the custodial cost and the utilities that, are part of that program. So, if there is a portion, of the custodial costs and the utilities that would also need to be subtracted from that, but still, it looks looking pretty.
So do we allocate any other administrative costs, like any of your costs or Scott's costs, or do we allocate any of that other overhead?
No.
Okay.
No. Not that we couldn't, but we don't.
But we don't,
So,
okay.
Right. Yeah.
But do they, like food service and stuff, is that charged to them? Or is that's not allocated either, really, or?
Right, well, for the GSRP, the adults are paid for through the GSRP program.
Okay.
And then
Students are
the
too.
students are free. And so there is a cost for those meals that also, this year will be free for everybody, so.
So when you said utilities, none of the building utilities are charged there?
Right, I don't have those in this part of the budget,
Okay,
they're
okay.
over in the maintenance, part of the budget. But to probably, to get a real actual true cost of what that building and the staff and everything,
So I think they've been metered separately, would they not?
They
or-
are, they
Okay.
are.
So we could do that if we
Yeah.
want. So looking forward, is it safe to think that with all the, seems to be a lot of money coming from the state, that we could still have money this year even though they're not grants, or don't see anything on the horizon?
I haven't really heard, I know that is a big push for the governor, but,
Yeah.
as far as whether or not those dollars will at some point directly flow, to like a preschool program, or if they're gonna go through a GSRP,
It seems like in the new budget, there was a lot of money being
I
thrown
know.
around.
I know. Going on the details.
Were we adding a class this year?
Yeah, so we did add a GSRP class this year, which gets paid for at the state per pupil allotment, which will help us out tremendously. But we can only pay for certain things out of that, but it's gonna help us out. The one GSRP classroom this past year definitely helped us out with our finances. But the one thing you have to remember too is when we add kids and we add classrooms, we'll have all 4 classrooms busy or used this time, but when we add those, we have to add staff because of our ratios. So it's just something that we have to continue to monitor. I am really pleased that year 2, we're sitting at a pretty much balanced budget for that. So
Do you do districts that have preschools other than us?
Manton has a latchkey program, but we don't have.
I think it's pretty good too that we're this close to balance at this stage.
Yeah, I think so too.
very good.
And then as far as the library, that's just more informational than anything else. So I just wrote down the, the community library and then the school library. Obviously, the school library normally does not have its own specific revenue, that comes in, but we did get a grant this year. And we are getting another one, 75,000.
So Diane Eisinger wrote another grant for the library and received $75,000 for this year.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, last year, 100,500, and, I don't think there's not a lot of, this kind of a community library, school library, that probably can even apply for those funds, but, so.
We're gonna keep applying.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're finding, so.
So if I remember, I know we'll get more information from Scott, but my recollection is that our June budget amendment was a slight negative. I think around 20, I think I wrote down 22,000 or something. So that was quite a turnaround from.
Oh, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Does something just stick out in your mind that there was a big difference on, or, I know Scott will cover that more, but.
Well, probably maybe a little conservative, for the first year, is really probably the majority, of that, of not really knowing like year end,
Yeah.
how the expenditures were gonna come in at, as far as, maintenance is still going on, technology is still going on, and so just, the balance of.
Good way to be.
Yeah, so,
Also ESSER funds, I played a little bit of a part in that too.
yeah.
We finished those rounds up.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody have any questions on any of those, or?
Really appreciate the information.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Liz.
You're welcome.
Moving on to our committee reports.
Principals.
We're gonna do the principals first.
It doesn't matter to me. We can do committee reports.
All right.
The only committee that has met is the sinking fund committee. So I don't know if anyone from the sinking fund committee would like to report out. I would be happy to, and I know that the 3 of you will happily interject. So sinking fund committee met after our last board meeting in July. We talked about, we went over a facilities plan that we worked on this summer and created a guide for us to go through in helping with guiding the expenditures of the sinking fund. Excuse me. One of the things that we kind of decided to go with, we have to go with technology every year, that we're dependent on that sinking fund to continue the one-to-one technology. But then also our secure entrances for our schools, we thought was a priority. Through the meeting, we kind of ended up on a middle school gym floor and working on that middle school gym area. With the sinking fund, the remainder of the money. So remember, we have to go through the asbestos abatement process, which is costly, and then putting down a brand new floor. Also don't know what we're going to run into once we pull that floor up. If there's cracking in the floor, if there's moisture somehow, which we think that there probably is. So there could be some other additional expenditures. So I did reach out to Chip Hendrick to put together an RFP for us for that. Asbestos and will be a kind of a separate thing because you have to deal with certain companies to do that, and then the gym flooring. Some of the other things that we wanted to tackle with our sinking fund money is potentially indoor batting cages. Now some of these are allowable and some are not. We have to research these, right, to make sure we're following the letter of the law. But some of the things in the gym that we would also like to accomplish is the indoor batting cages, getting some that we can keep up year round, removing the metal and potentially replacing the windows in the gym that were there, potential sound system, new backboards, electrical box, switch and stage area. If you've gone in there and you have to turn on the lights with the electrical box, we don't have switches, we have the electrical box. Probably could fix that, probably should. Better use of the stage area, remodeling the locker rooms, shower rooms, just kind of making sure we hit all areas of that gym, and then we could be done with that area for a while. So some of the, you see on my report there, sinking fund goals that we talked about by the committee is the one-to-one technology, secure entrances, and a middle school gym floor. Other items like we would like to see accomplished with our track is potentially the football lights, potential football scoreboard, sound system, addressing the visitor bleacher section, a new timing system, and different things of that nature so that we can be done up there as well. We did talk about roofs and the need of roofs and where that priority lies, and we were kind of waiting on this infrared thing to see kind of where we were at. And to be honest with you, this could all change if our gym floor bid comes in and we can't afford to do it with what we have remaining in our secure entrances of what we have remaining. And that's what's nice about a sinking fund, is that money can then shift to somewhere else with delaying that project.
I think one of the big things, I mean, it looks like we're doing the whole middle school gym, that's all it's one thing that's real tangible to the kids. They're going to see it every day if we do that. And the community members that have the kids involved in middle school sports. Because if that, like you said before, that's a classroom every day. It's not just a gym. It's a classroom that's used as a classroom every day.
It'll be good for the public to see. That'll be good. I think the facility study, from my viewpoint anyway, wasn't a really big surprise. I mean, it was basically things that have been talked about for a long time. It wasn't really any big surprises in it. It's a long list, but you know.
But it's an exciting list too, right?
It is.
I mean, it'd be exciting to see that accomplished. If you get the opportunity to go down to the elementary wing by the cafeteria and see where John painted a kind of a new color structure of what we're looking at doing and like to do for the building. Holy cow, it's amazing what paint can do.
Yeah.
And it just freshens things up. And,
You realize how dingy the color is until you see it painted.
Yeah.
And I like too, Scott, you mentioned in the meeting that you're kind of working on more of a consistent, what do I call it, some kind of consistent color scheme, kind of a consistent motif, if you will.
Branding.
Some branding, that's what I was looking for. And I think that'll be good too. Lots of hodgepodge things, and I think some uniform branding and color schemes and that kind of stuff will upgrade things a lot.
A visual standard.
Thank you.
Yeah. Took me for a minute too. The other thing too is we want to work hand in hand with the athletic boosters and potentially PTO, so that we're all moving in the same direction and not against each other. So hey, if the athletic boosters, they want to raise funds for this, let's let them raise funds for that. Or if we need, then we can shift our focus that we want to work together.
Very exciting.
It is. It is. I also like the concept of, you had some volunteers that did some work this summer, and I think that's exciting too. To you know, I think maybe we need to build on that some, because I think there are people that will help.
Yeah, they painted what I call the big green monster there in one night. I think they had that.
Yeah.
So
But I think people are willing to help on
Yeah.
a volunteer basis, and sometimes people just need to be asked, or you know, make the need known, and that's great for community.
All right, committee reports, all in? Moving on to MASB update. Ken, you got anything?
Yeah, I think Scott sent this out a little bit later. Just a few things to report what I was up to this last month. 27th and 28th of July, I attended the MASB board retreat in Battle Creek. This was kind of the send-off for MASB for the new year. New president is a lady by the name of Kathleen Moore from Lakeview. I received my committee appointments. I was appointed to the executive committee, and they kind of run things between board meetings, and also to the government relations committee. And this is a committee I really wanted. This is the one we'll meet monthly in Lansing and interact with legislators and senators, and not only proposing new legislation, but forming opinions on existing legislation and that kind of stuff. So that's what I really wanted to be on, and so I'll be on that for next year. I thought it'd be good to share just some things from MASB. I know you all see a lot in the email, but just to share what their vision is. And the MASB vision is a well-governed, effective public school for every Michigan student. And that's real broad. But then it gets kind of broken down into a mission statement. The mission of the Michigan Association of School Boards is to provide high-quality educational leadership services for all Michigan boards of education, and to advocate for all equitable and exceptional public education for all students. Interestingly enough, they will also serve private schools. If a private school would approach them, board, they would also service them. Since they're not members, they would be a fee, but they're open to helping private schools also. There was 3 strategic goals identified. Number 1 was access for MASB training and services for all public school boards. There again, if a private school were to come, they would be helped also. Number 2, to have student-focused individuals running for and serving on boards of education. They want to have good board candidates, and then they want increased engagement of the school community in advocacy for public education. Advocacy was a huge topic. Not everybody had the same meaning for that word. So anyway, some of the priorities for this year. The first one was interesting. It's a partnership with Grand Valley State University on civil discourse. We're kind of hidden from this problem, but some of the boards of education that we communicate with, those people are just plain abused, you know, and this whole thing about civil discourse. So there's a project going on with Grand Valley to kind of study that and maybe make some recommendations and that kind of stuff. And we're kind of protected from that, but it's out there. The second one was to improve member experiences and training products and services. Third one is to create a membership engagement profile for each district. Every district in the state of Michigan, except for 6, belong to MASB. And so some schools have more involvement than others. So overall, the goal is to involve as many schools as we can in services. And then number 4, to increase awareness and utilization of MASB services. And number 5, to expand data available for school boards and superintendents to improve their ability to attract and retain staff. Like everybody, they're very concerned about the staffing issues that we have. So that was kind of the kickoff to the new year for MASB. And then on the 3rd of August, I attended the Northern Michigan Legislative Consortium meeting in Traverse City. That might not be the right name of that, but anyway. It was interesting. There was a Democrat and a Republican strategist on the national scene. And it was interesting to hear them talk. It was very civil. Overall, they don't expect a lot of difference going forward. They expect 2024 to be pretty much a repeat of 2020. Not predicting a winner, but they don't see any change in the current discourse that we're having, unfortunately. On the state level, there were some interesting items discussed. In the new state budget, some things that might affect us. There's $125 million in transportation. It's yet to be determined what that's going to look like. That's going to be determined. We might end up with something that might not. And then there was a $20 million allocation for a statewide facility assessment. I don't know if you had any contact yet, but every superintendent in the state's going to be contacted and to do a facility study at their school. And I don't know if it's ever going to amount to anything, but just a couple areas that we might potentially, there's going to be changes in retiring teachers, return to classrooms. There was a lot of talk about the new education department that the governor established. The overall feeling was that was kind of a power grab, but that's yet to be determined also. Evidently the education department doesn't report to her, which I wasn't really aware. I think she's on a mission to change that, so that was the general feeling. Coming up, August 25 is the first Government Relations Committee meeting. The 13th of September, this is an open event at the Capitol. I'd encourage anybody that can to go. It's called Behind the Scenes. I was there last year. It's very, very informative. It's one-on-one with some senators and legislators. It's very well worth the trip down. And then November 9 through 12 is the annual MASB conference in Lansing. So I'd encourage anybody that can to come for part or all of that. It's very educational. So that's kind of what I've been doing.
I completed the survey today and that facility studies.
Did you?
Yeah.
So I understand some actual on-site studies and.
Yep, they'll be coming on, walking the buildings and doing so. The goal of it is to provide, the hope, right, is to provide funding for school districts, for infrastructure and for buildings. Michigan is one of the only states that does not have that. That's why we have the bond and sinking funds. We're not given money from the state for that. So
it doesn't hurt to have a look. No. So that's kind of all I got. Kevin, thanks.
Thanks, Ken. Now we can do our principals. Mr. Wisner, would you like to start?
Sure. Good evening. It was good to have staff back today. I'll tell you about the 2 new staff that are on your agenda before I forget, because if I don't know now, I will forget. So we hired 2 parapros that will be working in our special education department. Deb Awinga, she's been subbing for like the last year now. She interviewed at one time, it wasn't a good fit for her at that time, and she subbed quite a bit and really got to know the teachers and routines in the school, and she said, I'm ready for 5 days. I said, great, because we have a spot for you. So we're excited for her to be coming on, working in school every day. Kara Ellens, she is moving up from Jemison to the area. She has 12 years of experience in school. She has been a parapro, worked in the office. She said in her interview that she also drove bus. I said, so you have your CDL? And she said, I can't drive bus anymore. I said, no, I don't. Because I thought, parapro, and then go drive the kids home. I thought it'd be perfect. But, so she'll be coming on to, they were both here today for training and everything, and we look to get them all set up. The paperwork and stuff will be submitted tomorrow, so we're excited about them, and they're fitting in quite nicely already.
Can I interject, Mr. Wizard?
Yep.
Those are both replacements due to resignations, correct?
Yes. For PD today, in just the elementary building, we did PBIS, and got the staff on board with that. We have been doing it, so what I said to the staff was we're revamping and relaunching. we're gonna do it better than we were doing it before. So we went over a lot with them today. We had a binder full of things to go through, that went well. And I'm looking forward to getting that going. And then on Wednesday, we will do, I think I put in my report, we will do Orton Gillingham refresher with staff. Most all of them have been trained. And so that's what we're using to teach phonics and to help our kids get those stepping stones to reading. So we'll do a refresher on that. And then in our upper grades, we've had some people trained in morphology, and so they're going to share their knowledge with the staff about how to break down words, break them apart, and get to the meaning of words. So we're excited for those things. And then open house tomorrow. We're almost ready, and it's a busy time. Busy time. We're looking forward to it all. Kindergarten will start next Monday with half days. We'll have some kids come in the morning, some in the afternoon to give them a soft start and get used to the building, and then they'll be ready to come with all the rest on the 22nd.
All right, thanks. Mr. Spencer.
All right, things are busy in the middle school. It's good to have everybody back. I think it was nice for Terry to have me distracted with other people as well and give her a break. So we worked on PBIS. It's been kind of a year-long project, but really kicking it off today. And I got the teachers diving into information, kind of our reward system, how we're going to use it to recognize positive behavior, but also still deal with the undesired behavior, but not let that take the center spotlight. Got the teachers out and practicing in all the locations, because that's one of the things we expect them to do with the students is head down to the office, talk about what's expected in the office for behavior. So we as a staff went and did it, and they each got to practice going through, figure out what to say, what not to say, what works to demonstrate, and that was just kind of fun. Brought out a lot of their unique personalities and had a lot of good laughs as we went through that. It was good to get them doing it because they need to be fully invested in the program as well. We're going to continue that on Wednesday morning, finishing that up. I gave them some time to digest some things, make some decisions, and we'll come back together Wednesday to work on that, and then continue on with our school improvement goals of meeting up with our math and reading goals that we have and helping support student learning. We're excited to see our 6th grade intervention block kickoff. It's based on fall or spring test scores of 5th grade. We chose, and we're giving about half of our 6th grade the most identified for need and an extra boost in math to help fill those gaps, get them caught up, feel comfortable in 6th grade, so that we're going to see that continue to grow on in 7th and 8th grade. Ms. River-Close has taken the spearhead of that, and we're excited to see what that's going to do to help our scores in that area as well. So continue working to that department. And we're just ready for kids, excited to see them come through. Building looked great this year for us, and excited to see where it's going to go.
All right, thank you. Mr. Builder.
Hey everybody, good to see you all. It's been a little while, so
Yep.
it's good to see everybody. We also enjoyed 4 new staff members today for their first day of McBain. Ben Cox for English. We were able to add another English section or English teacher this year with Sheila Johnson, who normally would teach some 9th grade classes in English, moving to teach more in middle school with our numbers. So there's more of a need for her there. We were able to always need more in English. So Ben was able to be hired. He comes from Texas, has a little southern draw, and I think our kids will really enjoy him. Carrie DeVries and Alex Dottie are both special education teachers that we were able to poach from other schools, and they have several years of experience, and as well as Grace Hagan, the other English teacher taking over the senior sales classroom. Both Ben and Grace have 4 or 5 years. They come with experience, and so I can't tell you, and Scott reemphasizes all the time, you know, many of our teachers retire. They don't necessarily resign. And we did with Mr. Grease, and also Mr. Purcell had retirements. And so at that point, we're bringing on more staff. I hope they're excited today. New staff, it's always nice to see their energy and their excitement, and they've been well received. We worked on PBIS as well with our few hours today in the afternoon with our staff. I think overall though, the day, The biggest thing to learn is that I am not a teller of dad jokes. Thank you, Mr. Acom, for putting us on the spot. Kevin and Ken also know that. My wife does know that very much. She gets very embarrassed when I try. So relates my kids. So I have to read those things and become prepared. So I was not prepared today. So. Anyway. It's good that we can laugh at each other and have fun. This is a business of people, and so it's nice to hear and see stories from people, our teachers and their families this summer. So that was also nice as well. In the high school, a lot of things happening with the approvals. Hope you had some time just briefly look over the handbook and look through those things, as well as our curriculum guide. Since I've been here, we've not updated it to make it look this pretty. I have to say kudos to Megan Watkins for helping me a little bit with that. She went through with some of the verbiage as well as I did and made it look nicer. So thank you to Megan on that as well. And Edgenuity, we do this every year now. Since I've been here, I've talked to the board about our compliance with 21F, which is the legislation about having students be offered online classes for high school credit. So the Edgenuity programming allows for that, but truly what we mostly use it for is credit recovery. Kiddos that are struggling with credits either come to us or get behind, and we try to catch them up. And so we have a credit recovery option for the students electronically with the program. So most of our kids, everyone likes our teachers. They like to be in front of teachers. Unless they are on the Excel program where they like doing normal classes, really our teachers, our students like our teachers for electives. So we have a ton of kids that take those classes, but they're there if we have it. So we have to have board. Any questions?
Maybe in addition to that, thank you. Just to touch base on the professional development today too, we did go over our social media policy and emails and texts, and just making sure that we're above reproach with that. But also we went over through our, as every year, our emergency procedures. But this year we were fortunate to have Trooper Skorka come in, and he is our, I always want to say community liaison, but he's a community service trooper, community, and he gave the CRAZE training for all staff, which is Citizens Response Active Shooter Experience. I can't remember what the acronym is.
Yeah.
But it was an excellent training of just going through different scenarios, showing video of, unfortunately, shooter situations where people could have acted and responded differently. That could have helped prevent. It was just a good training overall for our staff to be constantly thinking about situations and knowing where exits are and knowing how to respond and how you can respond in a stressful situation. And as educators, we always want to take care of our kids, and it's just one of those things that we always have to have in the forefront of our mind how what we're gonna do to help protect them. So it was very informative.
Yeah, one more thing, sir. I want to make sure that everybody knows. I know last year it got to the board level, we discussed our senior scholar process. And I've been waiting with the health issues at the end of the year. I was not able to finish that up and get other students with that. So that's kind of pending right now until I get some students at the current year, student council, some weigh in a little bit on that. But we just want to make sure that that's transparent. Okay, so I just want to make sure that everybody next month, I think I'll be bringing something to the board regarding that, but I want to make sure that kids as they say, we'll kind of talk a little bit about that, just so that they know about it, they're aware of it, and they can weigh in. So, all right, I just want to make sure you.
Something I came across today, Ryan, that I wondered about. Earlier in the year, we were given information on a potential European trip. Is that still in the works? Or?
Absolutely, Mrs. Angel.
Okay.
Yep, she's game. But again, it's well, let me get this right. I'll be out of this. Is it this next summer? I believe it's this next summer. And that is with the company is escaping my name right now, the name of the company. But they're paying into that directly into online accounts separate from anything to do with school. So the company takes care of all that, the insurance pieces and all of those things, check routing, all over. I think we're going to provide some. We're able to have some people. There were several people that raised their hands that wanted to go to St. Little to your.
Good works, yeah. Good opportunity.
Yeah.
Good opportunity experience for our kids, and
Yeah, for sure.
it is outside of the school realm, so.
Yeah, there was, last time I talked with her, there was 10 to 12 that were interested with a solid yes. So I don't know what that really means, hard moving forward, but we'll touch base from time to time and I'll give you guys an update on that if you'd like.
All right.
Kevin, I wanted to just add one more thing to my report for MASB. When I went to the Traverse City meeting, I went in the room and sat down, people I didn't know, and it turned out to be the new superintendent and board from MISIC. And I took quite a bit of abuse about stealing the superintendent. So.
All right, thanks everyone, good stuff. Moving on to our discussion items. Return to in-person instruction, continuity of learning.
Yes, so you notice our list is getting smaller, so that's positive. We're making headway of requirements. We are going to return to school in person, and we're going to learn in front of teachers.
Excellent. LEA planned use of funds.
Nothing has changed. We continue to use our ESSER funds as they were meant to be used.
31 AA, mental health.
Yep, still trying to figure out how we can spend that money. Once we figure that out, we will definitely spend it for the best use of our students, best interest.
And last but not least, PBIS.
Yep, so our PBIS, as you heard Mr. Wisner speak today, and Mr. Finstrom going over PBIS with their teachers and staff and getting prepared for that positive behavior intervention and supports, which is an initiative we started last year. And the high school will be working on that on Wednesday. So we're still proceeding with that.
Okay. Moving on to our action items. First one, action item A is approve elementary, middle school, and high school handbooks. Motion.
Supported?
Motion and support to approve all the handbooks. Any discussion?
I have a couple edits.
Okay.
I already sent Mr. Finstrom one edit. Mr. Biller, on the table of contents, and don't ask me how I caught this, but it's probably 15 years of college grading. Due process, it's spelled dur process rights. And infractions is missing the C under transportation.
I spelled her name wrong, Sherry.
And yeah, and Troy spelled my name wrong of anything on his.
Was that a test?
I just wasn't gonna call him out. I'm like, you need to fix this.
I said it's been wrong for 2 years. I really have to change your spelling.
So anyways, those are the only, and like I said, I have no idea how my eye caught that, but it did.
Yes.
So thank you, that's it.
Anybody else have anything? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Good job, Mr. Wisner.
I'll find some later, Dave, I'll send them to you.
Action item B, approve Dawn Verberkmos as JV volleyball coach. Motion.
Support.
Motion and support for Dawn. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Action item C is approve high school curriculum guide.
Motion.
Supported.
Motion with support. Any questions for anybody, comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that passes. Action item D, approve Edgenuity course list for 2023-2024. And again, to repeat, this is the online thing that Mr. Miller just referred to.
Is that significantly different from previous years?
Nope, it's the exact
I
same
think
thing.
so.
I think 4 years ago, I think I came to the board to use that for the first time. It's been the same thing for the last 4 years. It's just a re-up every year. Our pupil monitor, make sure that it's going through the options and classes.
Make a motion to approve that.
Support.
Motion support for the Ingenuity course. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Action item E, the hiring of Kara Ellens, special ed parapro.
Motion.
Support.
Motion support for Kara. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Action item F is to the hire recommendation of Deb Owinga, special ed parapro.
Motion.
Support.
Motion and support for Deb. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations to those two ladies. Action item G, board resolution of general obligations for bonds.
So moved.
Support.
Motion and support for our bond obligations. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that passes. This time for public comment again, but I'm guessing seeing nobody, we will not have public comment tonight, so move on to our board round table. If anybody has anything they just want to share or comment on, now would be the time.
The concrete out front looks nice.
Yes,
Yeah, the curb does. doesn't it?
Yep.
Kinda nice.
Looks very nice.
it's got good curb appeal.
Where were you this morning?
Oh my goodness.
Where were you this morning?
I've been holding on to that. Save that one for a later meeting.
That may have won this morning.
Yeah. It would have been my book. For sure. Could be Mr. Miller.
Oh, what you been thinking about that day, haven't you?
All right, I heard a motion to adjourn. Support. Motion and support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Meeting is officially adjourned at 6:53.
Let's go. Have a great school year, you guys.
Yeah.
That's the next
See you tomorrow.
That's about it.